Right. Again. What factors do you believe contribute? That one. Is there a weak link in the process of apprehending and monitoring gang activity, or is there like a weak link perhaps in the intelligence of collecting?
I'm not sure there's a weak link. When I studied and did like gangs and violence, one of the things that we sort of like looked into was how the police now use social media to actually track what's going on and how those sorts of things can be used as part of prosecutions. I think there are so many different variables. COVID has sort of impacted, and I think it's created a lot more victims, but it's like I said earlier, are we seeing those young people as victims or just as perpetrators? What is the view? What support is in place for those that are being exploited, that are being groomed? Or is it easier to just label them as a gang member and maybe get a conviction? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Do you believe that deterrence is key to limiting gang activity?
Absolutely. It's almost like with mental health. Early intervention means better health outcomes. Early intervention in terms of young people addressing their ACEs, putting in those protective factors, means you're going to get young people that have a better level of emotional intelligence. They're going to be making better decisions. If we are giving like 2 years funding and taking it away, then what? You take away the hope, you take away the funding from the community, and then you end up in that revolving door cycle. Nothing changes because it's almost like trying to fix a dam with a plaster. It's just never going to hold, it's never going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You mentioned how deterrence is a key to helping these kids. So do you think those sort of services are readily available, or do you think they're difficult to find?
No. I think we are a small grassroots organisation and we get referrals through from a lot of different avenues, children's services, other trusts, and we're part of partnerships. I think the biggest problem is funding. We're organisations that run and we need to pay the bills, basically. But larger organisations that probably don't get to do as much hands-on work get large pots of funding. We need to get better at actually getting the funding to the people that can actually connect with the communities. These places aren't hard to reach. A lot of organisations won't go there. You need to go where the problem is to start to address it.
Do you believe there should be more preventative measures that could be put in place to protect these young kids from gang crime?
Absolutely. I think, I get exhausted just sort of thinking about it. There are so many areas. You think about the educational system. Person's expelled, their chances of ending up in a gang go up. Person goes through the criminal justice system. Lammy report 2017, David Lammy reported that if you are a black male and you commit a crime, in comparison to your Caucasian counterparts, you are on average likely to get 10 more years for the same crime. Now, when we start addressing disparities like that, as communities and culturally, we stop feeling like we're oppressed. We stop feeling like there's no hope. We stop feeling like our community offers us nothing. We've got to start with the educational system, the criminal justice system. It all feeds into why young people end up in these gangs, because they get criminalised. I mean, I remember reading a few articles where someone had tried to commit suicide, and a railway track was the method that they attempted to use. They then got criminalised, although they were unwell, which means that if that person then becomes unwell, not only do they live with their mental health, they then have a criminal record which they need to explain to an employer every time they go. Things like that can be really, really disheartening when you've got something like that on a DBS, and then have to explain it. And for young people being criminalised for small things, we need to have better programs where we are diverting them, where we are educating them around drug use, the impact, putting in the protective factors around ACEs, and our organisation's actually developing a mentor program that actually addresses those sorts of things. A desistance program where we not only look at crime, we look at drug use, we look at a variety of different things, and we work on changing behaviours, not just focusing on gangs, because there's a lot of focus on gangs, but there are loads of different issues that build up that context to a gang member.
Where do you think the responsibility lies in preventing new gangs being formed and people being attracted to gangs?
I think that's a community thing. And that's the older gang members, the elders that have been there, done that, that need to be kind of speaking to the young people. We see a lot of that happening. Craig Pinkney is really, really useful in terms of our community engaging on all levels and actually being able to cross those boundaries with young people, with those that are in gangs, and actually educating more people like that. But again, we need to have the funding to do it. Our communities are poor, our communities are at rock bottom, and if we don't invest in them, we don't offer prevention, we don't educate parents, we don't give children different outcomes, those ACEs are just going to continue to build and the outcomes are not going to be any different. It's like the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different outcome. It's just not going to work.
As a person that kind of runs this organisation to help the community, what would your message be to the people that are kind of struggling with the gang crime in the area?
Don't lose hope. There are organisations like ours, there are so many grassroots organisations, we never turn anyone away. If we don't have the skills to support, we will support that young person to an organisation, make the referral and ensure that they are in services somewhere else. Don't lose hope, communicate, try and speak to someone. If that life is something you want to change, come and speak to us. Find someone that you trust, speak to them and start that ball rolling. We will support you. There are so many other organisations that will support you. And even if you have been in a gang, it doesn't have to be your life. You can change, you can do different things. And even having a criminal record doesn't mean that you can't become an entrepreneur, run a business. And let's be frank, if you've got someone out there who is selling drugs or something like that, they have other skills. And I don't think that we take into consideration enough that once we take someone out of a gang context, let's look at the skills that they've got. Cross-transferable skills. They might be good with maths, they might be good with, technology. Young people are really good. How do we turn those young people into entrepreneurs and give them hope? We've got to look at so many different things and start doing it very differently.
Thank you very much. Nice day.
Sorry.
Yeah.